champion. It remains a very, very good FA Cup final. And Hatchin! What a magnificent goal!
Good evening and welcome to All Things Sky Blue match preview against Millwall. Before I bring my guest in from that Millwall podcast, just remember where you can find us. It is scrolling down the bottom. So we are on X or Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're on YouTube. Please go and please go and like and subscribe us on YouTube if you watch us. If you listen to us on podcasts, please go and rate us 5 stars, and we're available on Spotify, Amazon, and wherever else that you get your podcasts from. This season, we're partnered with the Sky Blue Tavern, which is where I am today, and also the Anecdote at the CBS Arena. And we're, again, gladly sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications. His logo's in the corner. He can do your steel fabrication work up and down the country, but mainly in the Coventry and Warwickshire area. So, just in case it goes black, because sometimes I do have a few connection issues. Hopefully it doesn't happen. When my guest comes on, don't shoot off, Jay, when you come on, just in case it does go. So a lot's changed. I am on my own tonight. My co-host Mark unfortunately can't make it tonight, so it is myself. So I will introduce my guest from that Millwall podcast, Jay Thomas. How are you, Jay?
Good evening, Stuart. Thank you very much for having me. Good evening, Cov fans. Appreciate the time.
No, thank you very much for joining. Obviously, I know that I've done fantasy with you as well, which was really good fun. So if you haven't watched that and you do EFL fantasy, have a look. And he normally does it. I believe you didn't do one this week, did you? Is that right?
No, I've been pretty under the weather all week, so I haven't had time to get out. As you can tell by my voice, is a little bit croaky. Just getting over it, but yeah, no, I appreciate you lightening that, and we had a good conversation last time.
We did. It was very good, and I can't wait to do it again. If you ever have me back on, that is.
Absolutely.
Right. So obviously, Jay, a lot's happened since we last spoke. Obviously, Mark Robins is no longer the Coventry City manager after the 7-year stint that he had. We took the international break. And a little bit longer to finally nail down, I suppose, Frank Lampard. From an outsider's view, how do you feel about Lampard coming back into the Championship, and how do you feel him coming back to Coventry? Well, coming to Coventry.
Oh, it's a tough act to follow with Mark Robins. I know that his tenure didn't end in the greatest of light, but this is a manager that, I put up in that Neil Warnock, Tony Mowbray kind of bracket of Championship managers. He's very successful. He's very, very good at what he does. Very respected, more to the point. Very seasoned. And it was, we spoke on the Fantasy EFL show and I asked you a few questions because it was alluded to that Mark Robins could be on his way out. There was rumblings. I didn't expect it to happen, to be honest. I thought we'd have enough to get him out of it, or at least have enough credit in the bank to warrant going through a stint like this and sticking with him. But yeah, Frank Lampard's a manager, in my opinion, that probably wouldn't have got the job had his name not been Frank Lampard. Now, I'm not trying to shoot down your appointment or anything. I understand there has been rumours that there was potential rumblings over the Frank Lampard hiring. But yeah, look, he's bounced around a little bit now. He's managed in the Premier League. Did pretty good with Derby last time he was down here. They had a good stint, but had great players at the time. He took Mason Mount, Tomori, Premier League players. So yeah, it'll sort of work its way out. I don't think you could really put it down to being a good hire or bad hire now. But it's clear that Coventry want to go in a different direction. They want some youth. They want some talent to be brought in from the name that Frank Lampard has, and it could be a good move for him.
Yeah, obviously, I was definitely one of the definitely one of the fans, and like the majority of us didn't want Robins to go. We were shocked when it happened, but look, before the we had a derby game where we lost 2-1, and it was a really poor game. Before that, we went We drew against QPR. We beat Luton, come back and beat them, and we beat Middlesbrough at their place 3-0, which not many people are going to do that to Middlesbrough. But we've got a good, a good reputation against Middlesbrough, or good form against Middlesbrough. Before that, them 3 games, I could understand if it went because, or understand the reason why people were wanting him to go, because it wasn't looking good. It was looking a little bit bleak. Football wasn't great and we weren't getting the results up until them 3 results. Now, the way that I kind of view it is Doug King's got to make a decision, and I think Robins in the past has said when he's been on a run like that, not many owners or chairmen would have kept him that long anyway. It was just the 3, the 3 results that were starting to turn a little bit, and we thought, okay, Derby might have been a blip. We might have been able to carry that on. Unfortunately, he didn't, and so we move on. He'll still get his statue as far as I'm concerned. He'll still warrant that. And he's up there with Jimmy Hill, and Sillett and Curtis as well.
Agree.
So on Lampard, I wasn't overly keen to start off with, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought it made sense. Just because, again, he's got Premier League experience. He knows the Championship with when he was in Derby.
Yeah.
And he had, like you just mentioned, he had quite a good run. Obviously, you mentioned the likes of Mount and Tomori and people like that as well. Now, it's not the first time that we've had Chelsea links because we had Adi Vivash and we got Ian Matson from Chelsea, and we've got other players as well from Chelsea that we've loaned in the past. Darbo, he came from Chelsea and then we signed him. So we've always had that Chelsea link of some kind. Hopefully, I'm hoping that Lampard will be able to bring in other players from other clubs that we might not have been able to, maybe from abroad, because, as you mentioned, Lampard's name will hold a little bit of weight, and he might be able to pull in players potentially that might not have known what Robins is like or what Robins has done in the past. So I think it's a good fit, but as you mentioned, time will tell whether it was a good appointment or a wrong appointment. And Doug is going to be, his time at Coventry is going to be based on this. This is his first appointment, and it was a big call to make, and he's done it. So, if you've made your bed, you've got to lie in it, so to speak, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just before we move on to, obviously, Saturday's game, obviously, Lampard's brought in Joe Edwards, who you know a lot about as well, having been your manager for a brief stint. What's your feelings on Joe Edwards? How do you think he will do with Frank? And what does he bring to the table from a kind of a Millwall point of view?
Well, look, ultimately, it didn't work out for Joe Edwards at Millwall. In 18 games, we only won 4. We lost 10. We went for a good run in December where we looked to pick up points. The problem with the timing that we had Joe Edwards was Raul obviously left the club at the end of the international break, and Joe Edwards seemingly came into an older squad. It wasn't his squad, and we tried to transition from a very defensive style of football into bit more of a fluid attacking style of football, going back to a 4 at the back. And it was probably just the right manager at the wrong time. Fred Woods would have probably, if we hired him in the summer, give him a transfer window, a pre-season, we might have got better results. It started great, that 4-0 away win against Sheffield Wednesday, and we thought, this is it, this is the Messiah. Millwall winning away from home is a big thing in itself, let alone scoring 4. So, but then it just started to get really sour. He didn't know his best team, and we started to lose some games where the performances really, really weren't good enough. And the fans are turned, and Millwall being an old school, very vocal fan base, if you haven't got Millwall ties and you're from the outside, it can turn very quickly, and it's very difficult to get that back. I don't feel any animosity towards him. He did try his best, but he didn't strike me as someone who really had control of the locker room. Everything that he sort of spoke in his press conferences seemed predetermined. It seemed very manager talk. He didn't really speak with any emotion, didn't call anybody out. And there's some big characters at Millwall, and with the fan base as well. I just don't think he really grasped that. And it was ultimately his downfall. He has been around, though. You know, he's been a coach for his entire career since he was like 12, 13 years old. Yeah. Been at Chelsea, you know, he's part of Champions League winning squads at Chelsea, was kept on by the likes of Jose Mourinho and people like that at Chelsea. So, you know, he knows a lot about training. He knows a lot about coaching and getting the best out of individuals. He was with the England setup as well in the England elite squad, in the under-20s. So he's been around the game a hell of a lot. Being a number 2 is probably best suited for him because he can take control of that side of things. He's had some success with that. So, yeah, Joe Edwards is a number 2, not the issue. You know, it's the man that he reports to.
To be fair, I was going to ask that. Do you think he suits being a number 2 or a number 1?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, look, Stuart, he'll get his chance. He's still a young man, you know, he'll get his chance eventually to manage a football club, and he probably does deserve it. It was just, everything was not in order for him to take over at Millwall. It was kind of up in the air when Rowett left. He left at the end of the international break, so it took us a while to get that person in. We didn't really have the time, as normally if a club's going to make a managerial move like that, it's done at the beginning of the international break. So, you know, he came into a really tough spot. We'd already obviously had 3 managers that season, Rowett and an interim with Adam Barrett. And it was just tough for him to make it meet. It took him weeks to find out his best squad. And ultimately in this game, you know what it's like now. I mean, we've seen Mark Robins fall on the sword. You have to get results. Joe Edwards is no Mark Robins. Maybe one day, you don't know. But I think he's definitely suited to a number 2. But again, there's no hardship with Joe Edwards. He tried his best, didn't work out. It's just the right manager at the wrong time, I feel.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned just there as well that you went from a defensive style of play to an attack and more of a fluid attacking style of play. Now, obviously, that sounds like that's music to Coventry fans' ears. So, was it just a case of defensive frailties for his side, and did that attackingness come out, I suppose, in your games that you can remember Joe Edwards being in charge for?
It did to an extent. I mean, he tried to. At first, he tried to change things too quickly. You know, we used to be in a 5 at the back, and you know, we soak up a lot of pressure, and we hit teams on the counter attack. And we've always been very clinical. We'll have 20% possession, we'll have 2 shots on target, but we'll score one of those. You know, we've been very efficient like that, and it worked with Gary Rowett for years. You know, we almost made the playoffs, losing out on the final day. That proved to be too much of an emotional hit for Gary Rowett and Millwall, and the writing was ultimately on the wall with some poor results. But he tried to change things. He started off going with a 4-4-2, just a basic 4-4-2, just to see what he had. We beat Sheffield Wednesday 4-0, obviously. Then after that, it was quite bad. You know, we was conceding quite a hell of a lot of goals. I think it was Coventry come down to the Den the next game and beat us. And it was, it just didn't look good. And then he tried to change it a bit too quick. Tried to evolve it more to a 4-2-3-1. Then he did go 5 at the back at times. And there's more the style of play. It was playing it out from the back with players that aren't really used to that, aren't really good at doing that. Didn't really suit the players that we had. And he was ultimately doomed before he could start. He was damned if he did, and he was damned if he didn't. It was just a lot of huffing and puffing, a lot of trial and error, and it just didn't work out for him. But give him time, give him the right system, the right players. You know, there's a coach there. There's no denying his coaching resume. So I think that it'll be a good move for him, being a number 2 in the Championship, which is completely different to the Premier League, different to the England setup. It comes at you thick and fast. It's Tuesday, Saturday every single week. It's a tough schedule. It's up and down the country, and he'll benefit from that. And I'm glad that he's took this route and he's not tried to go straight into another job. He's took another step back, probably had a hard look in the mirror, reassessed himself. And ultimately, most managers, they'll be better for it. It'd be a better experience for him.
Excellent. Lovely. Thank you very much for your take on Joe Edwards. So let's get on to Saturday then. So Neil Harris in charge, third time lucky, is it for him?
Neil Harris, as you know, majority of people know Neil Harris's affiliation with Millwall. He is Millwall. You know, he was brilliant the first time around. He's our all-time top leading goal scorer. Got us promoted when we was in League One. Almost took us to the playoffs in the Championship in our first season back. Results started to fonder a little bit, and then he ultimately walked away from the club. He come back last year in February, and we was down. You know, after Joe Edwards, there was no light at the end of the tunnel for Millwall. We was scraping in a relegation battle. We was probably dead and buried. You know, we didn't have any confidence whatsoever. And Neil Harris came in and completely changed that around. You know, I think we won 5 out of 6. Since Harris has came into the club, I think only Leeds have picked up more points than Neil Harris from Millwall. We're currently 9 unbeaten. We're sitting top end of the Championship, just outside the playoffs. He's done great for this club, and it's not just his managerial outlook, because he's obviously got better since the last time he managed us. He's grown as a manager, both tactically and with his experience in terms of how you manage games. But he gets the football club. You know, there isn't anybody that would have kept us up last year other than Neil Harris. He understands what it takes to play for Millwall. He understands the fans. He understands how to get players up for a big game. He's a very good motivational speaker. He's a very good man manager. He says it how it is. Some of his press conferences are a little bit, probably shouldn't have said that, Neil. You're probably going to get in trouble after this one. But he says it how it is, and he's true to his word. And look, there's conversations on whether he's the right man to take Millwall forward in terms of the way we want to do things now. But there's no denying that man's ability to go out and give 110%. Every player will do that. And yeah, Neil's the perfect manager for that. And credit to him, he's done a fantastic job so far.
So is there part of the fan base then that isn't sure about Neil Harris, even though, you know, like you said, you've had some really good scalps in that. You've beaten Leeds, you've beaten Burnley. I know the past 3 games you've drew 1-1 against Oxford, Sunderland and Stoke. You know, but previous to that, like I said, you beat Leeds and you beat Burnley. Now they're 2, you know, really good scalps. Surely Millwall have got to be happy with how things are progressing so far, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. You know, if we would have took this at the beginning of the season, we'd have bit your hand off, Stuart, you know, but considering where we finished the season last year. So it has been very good. There's been a lot of turnover. The club want to go in a different direction now. Now, we want to buy young, youthful players with a lot of talent that we could sell on. We're seeing that at the moment with Romain SA, who Crystal Palace are interested in, real good talent. And this is the direction the club want to go in. Neil Harris is only here until the end of the season. And obviously he wants to get results. Playing the youth might not be the best way for him to advertise himself. But there is a little bit of a friction within the fan base at some of the comments Neil Harris has made about the direction, his relationship with our director of football. It hasn't been the best. And, you know, the fans are pretty upset with some of his decision making in terms of personnel. We've got a lot of youth. We've got a lot of attacking talent. And the quote is playing his mates. That springs to mind. And there has been a little issue with that. But that aside, you know, you can't deny that, you know, we've won 9, not won 9, but we're 9 games unbeaten. So the man's got enough credit to be able to make his decisions without getting too much criticism. If it carries on a winless run, it will only get a little bit hotter. But yeah, look, Neil Harris is Mr. Millwall, and one day, you know, he'll go down as the greatest Millwall figure to ever exist outside of John Berylson's family who own the club. But yeah, there's not too much friction, just more annoyances with certain things at the moment. But yeah, no denying the job he's done is amazing. Yeah,
fantastic. So obviously we've got a decent record against you guys.
I was just looking, it's horrible.
The past 6, I only went to the past 6. So the past 6, you've lost 3, you've won 2, and we've drew 1. But obviously the past 3 games that we've played, we have won them games.
Yes.
I think going back to the last game of the season was it 2021, I think, or 2022?
2021, that was
we beat you 6-1. Yeah, we beat you 6-1. I remember the goals were just flying in that day.
I was there that day. And I was there when we played you at your place last night in the 2-1 loss as well, when, Haji Wright decided he fancied playing some good football that day. And it was quite upsetting, considering we started the game really well. Romain Esse got on the, it looked to be tearing things up, and it looked good. But yeah, like you say, look, it's 3 losses on the bounce against Coventry. That's home and away. The last real good solid home win we did one, you was 2-0 up in that game, and we turned it around to win 3-2 in a great historical football game. Them games are always great, not for Coventry fans, but them games are always good to be a part of. I think that's first game of the season or second game of the season, if I remember. So yeah, it's not always been easy sailing for Millwall, even when we've won the games. It's taken something like that to happen for us to win the game. So yeah, it goes a little bit deeper than just the last 3. We're quite wary of a team like Coventry of being a bit of a team we struggle against.
Yeah, how are you feeling about going into Saturday's game with obviously your form 9 unbeaten, and you must have looked at Coventry's form? We're not playing very well. We've got a new manager, so we still don't know how quite we're going to set up with a new manager. The game that we had against, it's gone out of my head now. I can't remember our last game now. We drew 1 at Cardiff. We drew 1-1 with Cardiff. Now that game,
2-1.
I think, 2-2. Sorry, yeah. I think personally, that was more of a Reece Carr team, who was the interim manager, rather than the Lampard's team. I think personnel-wise, I think we'll find out more who he likes on Saturday against Millwall. And it will be interesting because we do know that Lampard wants a high press. I just don't know whether we've got the personnel to do it. So me personally, I am worried about it because, like I said, you've taken some good scalps at home and you are some good form. I don't know if Haji Wright's going to be back, so he'll be a big miss. But, Ephraim Mason-Clark, he scored against Cardiff, so hopefully he'll be on a little bit of a high. The player that I'm really, really, excited to see is Bissett. Ever since I've seen his debut, the guy is just electric. And I love him to bits. And unfortunately, other teams have got eyes on him already because he is very much a young, I don't want to say it, but a young Victor Gyökeres. He carries that element of arrogance about him, and that's what I like. And he isn't afraid of anybody. And again, another thing that I like. Just go into the players that are potentially out for you that Bissett, if he starts, could exploit. Obviously, you've got Jake Cooper out, which is going to be a big loss for you. I'm not sure about how much of a big loss the other two, Callum Scallion and Ryan Leonard. Are they both out?
No, Ryan Leonard's actually playing. There was a mix-up with the yellow cards, and it's actually even worse. It's actually Japhet Tanganga that misses the game.
Oh, is it?
On Saturday. And for me, Jake Cooper is a big loss, but Japhet Tanganga for me is a top 3 centre-half in this division. He has been absolutely incredible in this Millwall side. He's a Premier League defender, if ever I've seen one, and we've been very lucky to have him. So we do miss Jake Cooper, we do miss Japhet Tanganga, and if there's one position in the Millwall side that we couldn't afford to really get any injuries, it was at centre-back. And sadly, we've lost both of our centre-halves. I don't think Sean Hutchinson, even club captain, is going to be fit to make the game either. So we're going to be down to the bare bones at centre-half. We'll probably move Ryan Leonard inside to centre-back, play Danny Mack at right-back. But yeah, it is a problem. We obviously lost Josh Coburn as well, who was on loan from Middlesbrough. Got a couple of goals in 4 starts, I think it is. Good hold-up man, good target man, really holds the line well, brings our forward wingers into play. So we're getting short in some areas. We're getting some key players out. But yeah, it's very, very, very harsh that we're going to be missing our top 2 centre halves in what's been one of the best defences in the league. We don't concede. We don't concede. We went on a run of 1-0 wins because we don't concede goals, and 1 goal is normally enough for Millwall. So yeah, it's going to be very testing on Saturday. Very testing.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the past 5 games we've conceded 2 goals. So I think you'll be in line to get 2 goals at some point anyway, if I'm honest. normally we have to score 3 goals to win any game. It's quite frustrating in that way on the Coventry side of things. Obviously, Duncan Watmore's your top goal scorer at the minute, and George Honeyman is your top assister. Are they likely to feature at all? Are they likely to start?
Well, it's been a bit of a awkward situation for both of them, because George Honeyman plays in the 10, but he's not really a goal scorer or gets the assists. Now, his form has dipped over the last month, and when you're someone that is very good at a high press, just runs about a lot, and you don't get the goals and assists, when your form drops, it drops off in a bad way, because that is the only thing that you're good at. It don't get me wrong, he's been very good at doing that. It's his press and his tenacity has allowed us to get up the field, but he's dropped off. There could be a change there. Duncan Watmore has lost his position in the side as well. He's recently had a baby. Not him personally, but his wife has had a baby. So he's probably getting some sleepless nights. His form has dipped off since the start of the season, but that's opened it up for Femi Aziz, who I'm sure we'll touch on some players to watch for Millwall in a moment. But Femi's been outstanding. So, yeah, it's a completely different look to us going into Saturday. A little bit of more of an unknown. Some players are going to be getting their chances that probably wouldn't have done. So, yeah, it's... two players that you just mentioned could be in line to not make the starting lineup. But I imagine Honeyman probably would if I was to put my bet on one of the two. Right.
Okay. Well, I wasn't very happy going into Saturday, but Tanganga's out, Cooper's out. I'm not sure whether I'm coming to quietly optimistic, to be fair now. Obviously, we've mentioned Tanganga already. He was one of my ones that I was going to mention about standout performances. The other one is Romain Esse. As we've mentioned already, he's been linked with, bigger clubs in the Premier League as well. Just how good is this kid? Because I remember seeing him a couple of times, and I know he's good. But what do Millwall fans think of him?
Oh, he's absolutely incredible. One of we call him the Suffolk Saka, because he's very much like Bukayo Saka, same position, same skill set, same demeanour. The problem that we had with him last year, why he didn't get much games, is because he was only that. And, in a Millwall side, especially in Neil Harris side, you've got to work really hard. You've got to get back, defend. You've got to put yourself about, and you've got to give 110%. And this season, Esse's been doing that, and he's been very good at it. He tracks back really well, makes tackles, gets stuck in, got himself a bit more physical, looks a bit bigger. And then going forward, he's just electric. I think he's top 3 in the league for completed dribbles. He draws a lot of fouls. He cuts inside from that right-hand side, pops up in the 10. He's very skillful. He's a problem. He's a problem for anyone in this division. And, the stats are showing that with his attacking intent, the awareness around his ability with Premier League clubs and clubs abroad from in the Bundesliga and in La Liga looking at him as well. He's got a higher price tag on him. We're talking, double digit in the millions. It's going to be game-changing for Millwall. He's probably going to do more for Millwall not being here than he will be being here. He is only, like I say, 19. He plays in the England elite squad setup, scores goals for them as well. And, being able to sell someone like on for big money is going to send a good message to the youth that, if you stick with us and you perform well, there is a pathway at this club where you can break through and we won't stand in your way. But, yeah, he's arguably, one of the first name, if not the first name on the team sheet. He makes us tick, and yeah, he's just a brilliant player to watch. He's so easy on the eye. It's almost unbelievable that he's actually a Millwall player, because we don't normally have them type of players, but we've got one, and we're very, very, very happy with it at the moment.
Excellent. Does he plays on that right hand side, doesn't he?
Yeah, our front three. Or sorry to cut you off, Stuart.
No,
our sort of 10 right wing and left wing. They're very interchangeable. All of Esse's goals that he's got this season, I think he's got 4 or 5 this season, they've all come from the number 10 position, whereas Honeyman will interchange with him. So he likes to cut inside really well. He likes to drift out on that left. Aziz does the same. So it's a very interchangeable front four, but predominantly he's on that right-hand side. But in attacking positions, they do like to switch it up. They do like to move about, try and confuse the opposition, and he's very effective when he gets in that 10. A lot of Millwall fans, including myself, want to see him in the 10. We want him to play in the 10. I feel that's his best position. He's very impactful there. He'll have a lot more freedom to to move about. It's not kind of like the free role that you have in the 10, as opposed to keeping him out wide. But look, don't change something. Don't fix something that's not broken. He's playing very well in where he's playing at the moment, and you don't want to put too much sort of ball and chains on him and try and stop him from doing anything, because ultimately, he's getting the press for it. So yeah, no, top player. Won't be here for very long.
Yeah, obviously we don't like one of them players at all, really, because at the minute our defence is a little bit shabby. We can't. We've got to stop conceding goals. Is what we've got to do. We've got to get tighter. And like you said, it'll be interesting to see how Lampard addresses that first. The press and everything. For me, that's secondary. As long as we can be harder to beat, then we can build on that base. But when you're conceding 2 goals, you're just giving yourself a mountain to climb each and every game week. It's very frustrating. Any questions from you guys to us?
Mainly, one player I had to watch was Haji Wright. He obviously hasn't featured. What's his status? Is he likely to be back? Bassett is someone that I've looked at, and he's going to be a problem, especially missing our 2 centre halves, and with someone like Jack Redoni in the midfield as well, who finds them pockets in that 10 role, likes to drift forward. I can see some pockets opening up for Coventry. It's we'll get to our predictions, but there are a couple of players that I'm looking at that can cause us trouble. How have they been recently, and what's Haji Wright's status? I see he hasn't made an appearance for the last few.
Yeah, he got injured. He twisted his ankle against Sunderland after he scored, and it didn't look good. But apparently, the prognosis is that it's better than it first feared what it was. He didn't play against Cardiff. He might be back. We'll find out more from the press conference tomorrow with when Lampard does his press conference. But at the moment, as far as I'm concerned, he's out, so he won't be available, which is a bit unfortunate, because I would like to see Bassett and Haji play as a 2, because I think at the moment we set up better as a 4-4-2. Now, obviously, you mentioned about Edwards playing a 4-4-2 as well. So that might be something that they look at in terms of the formation that they want to play. Redoni, for me, he's been hit and miss. He does pop up with the assist and he does pop up with a goal, which is nice. But I just want to see a bit more consistency to his game. But I could say that for the whole squad, to be fair. From word dot in our first game of the season against Stoke away, we've just been inconsistent the whole of the season. And, the table doesn't lie. We are down there for a reason. But yeah, they just need to be a bit more consistent. But the one player that is probably, when he plays, that's been consistent is Bassett. Like I said, he shows just the way he runs. He shows glimpses of Gyökeres.
Yeah, he finds the pockets really well. Yeah. He splits the 2. From what I've seen of him so far, he likes to split the defenders. He likes to branch into the channel. And with, like I said, with our, we're down to our 4th and 5th string centre halves, and a makeshift right back moving to centre back probably for Saturday. I expect him to fully exploit that. Really like his movement. Really like his brain. He's probably not the most gifted that I've ever seen, but his awareness of where he is on the pitch, where the ball's coming from, it's like he's a step ahead. He's going to have a lot of suitors after him in the near future.
He's such an intelligent player.
Very intelligent, yeah.
People were saying after, obviously, he got the... I can never pronounce his name, but the Sheffield United centre-back, Adam Odahic or whatever his name is, he got him sent off. People were saying, you need to be careful that he's not a bit of a hothead. He isn't a hothead. He was very careful in what he was doing. I think he's just a really intelligent player. And as you've mentioned, his movement, and he's always looking, and he's lightning quick. He is, Gyökeres was deceivably or deceptively quick. He is quick. Yeah, and it's just, I'm just glad that we've we've kind of picked him up early enough, because he is still only 19 as well. Is going to go far. Yeah, really.
Yeah, well, he's he's an international. Is it France or Belgium? He's
Belgium.
One of the two.
Belgium.
To Belgium, yeah. So look, he's definitely a real talent. He's going to be a big problem, because, like I say, might not be the most technically skillful player I've ever seen, but his intelligence, his raw pace. It's almost like and I liken it to like Yaya Toure. Yaya Toure was never quick. But he was a strong runner, very strong runner. Yeah. And once he got galloping, it was hard to bring him down. Yeah. With that Bassett, what I've noticed is he's 0 to 60 straight away. On the turn, he's gone on the turn. So that'll play into our hands a little bit. We'll sit a bit deeper. That's what we like to do. We'll likely play a 4-2-3-1 where we'll sit behind the ball. We'll let Coventry play, and we'll try and nullify that. No doubt Harris has scouted that. If I've seen them qualities in him, no doubt an actual football manager has as well. So, yeah, we'll try to nullify that, protect our two centre-halves, because they are not our primary centre-halves. So we'll try and protect them as much as possible. But he does have the intelligence. He does have that raw pace and the ability to make us pay, even with barriers in place to try and stop him. So yeah, that's my biggest worry on Saturday is Bassett and our back four.
Okay, interesting. So on to predictions then, Jay. What's your prediction?
It's quite. The thing is that Coventry are on a bad run of form. They've got the new manager. We're on a very, very good run of form, but we've got so many injuries, key injuries. And, it's probably not the first place to go on Lampard's list for the first proper game he'll probably take charge is Millwall away. Yeah. Obviously, we haven't had much success with yourself in recent times, but, you had a very good team. He was pushing at the tops of the league for them years. I'm going to say it's going to be a draw. Now, the reason I say that is we do not concede goals. I think that might change Saturday with our changes into the back four. Coventry obviously concede a lot of goals, but we don't score a lot of goals. So obviously coming to the Den on a bad run of form, Millwall very good at the Den. We don't lose at the Den under Neil Harris. I think a draw would probably be the result that most of us will take. I know Coventry sitting 16th in the league, only won 4 games, but we're very good at home. I expect that new manager bounce for Coventry. Bassett and other players really do worry me. If we had Japhet Tanganga and we were still missing Cooper, if we just had one of them back, I'd feel a lot more confident that we'd keep you out. Okay. Like you said, you need to score 2 or 3 to draw or win a game. So I don't think we'll concede that many. But, yeah, I think it'll be a draw. I think, we'll relish a draw with our injuries. We can't underestimate new manager bounce and things like that and some of the players that Coventry have. But, yeah, I think a draw would probably be the result. I mean, obviously, I hope for a win, and Coventry fans hope for a win and to stop the rot, if you will. But yeah, I think it'll be a draw. Probably a very low scoring draw, if not a 0-0.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I was half expecting the new manager bounce, if I'm honest, to come against Cardiff. It didn't come. It was quite flat, especially the second half. So I'm hoping that the new manager bounce now has had time, with the players, that the new manager bounce will happen on Saturday. Again, I'm very up and down. I think it will be a very tight game. Yeah. We do need to make sure that we stop conceding, and I'm hoping that it is going to be Saturday. I never predict us to lose. The worst I'd ever do is a draw. But I just think with this side, and I'm hoping that Lampard's been able to do a little bit more work with them over certain things, that we're going to get a win. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win because we can't stop not conceding, but hopefully we don't concede 2 like we have done for the past 5 games.
Yeah, that was kind of I was toying between a loss and a win purely because of our defensive issues and our lack of goal scoring. It's not really the best combination to get a win is having not your key centre halves and not scoring many goals. So yeah, that new manager bounce is a worry. That's probably the biggest thing that I've put it down to. And like you, Stuart, I would never predict us to lose. But the little tell, my little poker face there, my little wink, when I've got a good hand, is that if I think we could lose, always predict a draw.
Yeah. Well, that's it, definitely. So I'm going to go for a 2-1. So before I do let you go, I like to do quick fire questions. One-worded answers if you can. If not, don't worry if it goes into a sentence, it's fine. So the first one is a player to look out for you guys.
Femi Aziz.
Femi Aziz. Lovely. Where will Cov finish at the end of the season?
14th.
Okay. Where will you finish at the end of the season?
10th.
Okay. One player you'd take from the Coventry side?
Ooh. Ewick. Is that his name? Is that how I pronounce his name?
Yeah. Milan Van Eywick. Yeah.
Van Eywick.
Milan.
Yeah, Van Eywick. Yeah.
Milan. Okay. And Neil Harris.
Legend.
I thought it was. Lovely. Fantastic. Thank you very much for joining me. Before I do let you go for real, though, this time, can you just let us know what you guys do and where we can find you?
Yeah, so you can find us at That Millwall Podcast on all socials. We do pretty much exactly the same as yourself. For all Millwall fans. We break all the breaking news down. We do our live shows on a Friday night. We do our pre-records. We also do live spaces for game reactions on a Sunday morning. So we have Millwall on a Sunday morning. And we've also just started doing live commentary as well. For people that can't attend the games, we do it on Spaces, on X. So we come in and it's either myself or someone else. We do live commentary of the game where we get people's halftime reactions as well. And we break it down at full time. But yeah, you can find us on socials at That Millwall Podcast.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Don't shoot off when we finish recording. We'll have a quick chat after.
Appreciate it. And safe travels down as well.
Thank you very much. Just remember where you can find us, guys, at All Things Sky Blue, on all socials, X, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Please go and like and subscribe. And we're also on podcasts, so go and rate us 5 stars on there. We're sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications, and we're partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar at the CBS Arena and here at the Sky Blue Tavern. So once again, thank you very much, Jay, for joining me. Been much appreciated, because obviously there's a quick turnaround as well in our game, so we probably won't have a chance to talk again.
No, we'll see you again at the end of the month.
I know, yeah. What's your prediction for that one? Let me get that on there now as well.
Oh, draw.
You know what? I'm going to go for a draw for that one as well. Right. So once again, thank you very much, Jay, and play up Sky.
Appreciate it, Stuart.